too have my notes.
Give one to Auntie.
All right, hello, my name is Douglas Brown. On behalf of my siblings, we want to thank everyone for attending today. Today we celebrate the life of our father, Philbert Brown. He went by many names: father, son, brother, nephew, uncle, grandfather, great-grandfather, and friend. And according to my Auntie Phyllis, he also had a nickname, Rambling Man, but we'll get into that a little later. He was born March 11, 1959 in Fort Defiance. Our grandfather, Gilbert Brown, and grandmother, Bessie Brown, would have another son, Ronald, and daughters, Phyllis, Lucinda, Arlene, and Cheryl. He was the eldest of the 6 children, and our dad loved his family. Growing up, our grandparents would take the family on many vacations. Our grandfather took them everywhere he could. But our dad was happiest when he was go fishing. He loved to fish, especially with his mother, Bessie Brown. He was her little fishing buddy, and the two of them would be sitting side by side together, and they would cast out their lines and sit patiently with pole in hand. And they wouldn't set it down though, they enjoyed holding it instead. Very patient fishers, according to Grandpa. There's something really peaceful about that, enjoying the moment and just sitting there and taking it in. And on some of those travel days, they would stop to eat. And when it was time for our father to order, grandmother would ask him, "What do you want, son?" And our father would answer joyfully and respond, "Bacon and pop." That was his favorite, bacon and pop. So grandma, so grandma, she got her fishing buddy back, and now you can have all the bacon and pop you want, Dad. The older he got, he started to develop hobbies. He loved music, movies, working out, and hanging with his brother Ronald. You can find them listening to old rock and roll in the room with their black light on, and that's where my Auntie Cheryl, she developed her love for rock and roll, listening on the other side of the door. But they would have many adventures together, and I'm not going to go into the details of all the adventures because they're a little too wild to tell in church. But there's one particular adventure I will talk about, and it was when they went hunting for a deer with Grandpa Gibb. Our grandpa had traveled to Washington State to help in a hunt. He learned a technique from the Yakima tribe that they had used to haul the deer out. So when our father returned, he took the boys hunting. It had snowed the night before the hunt, so when they got out there, the snow was pretty thick. Sure enough, they landed a buck, and it was time to haul it out. Grandfather started preparing the deer. He would be carrying the buck on his shoulders. And there's a technique where he would cut the legs and bind them together so that he can almost put it on his shoulders and wear the deer as a backpack with his arms in it, right? Well, so when he had it ready and it was time to carry it out, that's when my dad stepped in and was like, I can do it. So grandfather was like, are you sure? And he's like, yep. So Uncle Ron and Grandpa put this deer on his shoulders and he had it on and they started walking out. Well, not too long into their way out, he stepped on a log wrong. He slipped, about halfway put his foot on, and then he slipped and fell forward with the deer on his shoulders. Next thing you know, he's face down in the snow, and he couldn't turn himself over because the way his legs went up on the log, he was face down in the snow, and he's just kicking his legs in the air. And there, Ron and Grandpa, they ran over, and they're tussling with him, and they finally got him turned over. And when they got him turned over, his face was just covered in snow. And so they ended up having a good laugh about that. And yeah, that was a nice trip, they said. And they got it out of there and went about their day. But it was funny, just the story about my dad and him wanting to carry that deer out. And I think, after they had that really good laugh and everything, and all the adventures, and I believe our Uncle Ron was my dad's best friend. Our dad loved wrestling in school, and he was really good, and he won awards and state championships, and he got to travel a lot to different matches all over, and he had a bit of a fan base, and their aunties loved to go to these matches, and Auntie Cheryl, that was when she got to stay at a hotel. She really liked hanging out and maybe go swimming and go to all these places. But my dad, he had that family, so they felt really nice going to these places with him. And he was really good. He was a real star athlete, and I did follow in my dad's steps in that fashion, and I became a wrestler in high school, and I was really good too. And I thank my dad for allowing me to do that. When we were kids, when I was a kid, my father would be showing me wrestling moves in the living room, and that's kind of where I learned to fall in love with the sport. And he would show me all kinds of little tricks on how to move your arm a certain way and put your weight like this. And my dad was real particular with that. There was a method to everything he did, and that really carried over into myself. And our dad was always very fit, lifting weights, working out, and taking care of himself when we were young. He would be, he had a routine usually in the morning doing his sit-ups and his push-ups, and he'd always be like, Alex, jump on my back. Felicia, jump on my back. And he would be doing push-ups with the kids on his back. And those are special moments. And we'll always remember those. And my dad, he was always a handsome man. And this is where he was quite the ladies' man. That's where the rambling man thing started in high school. And going to these matches and touring around. That's the rambling man, going to match, and these girls following him. But through all that, there was one woman that stole his heart, and that was our mother, Christine Vidal, or Tina to most. And I could thank our Auntie Lucinda for that. So there's a story that goes, our dad, Lucinda, and a friend went to the movies in Dallas. Our mom worked at a ticket booth, and she had an arrangement with the usher. If you let my friends in, I'll let your friends in, is how it went between her and the usher. Wow. Auntie and my dad and their friend had went to the movies, and Auntie goes up to buy the tickets, and my mom's like, no, it's okay, it's free, go ahead. And she's like, no, I got money, I'll pay. And then she's like, no, it's okay, I got an arrangement with the friend in the back, let my friends in. He goes, I'll let you in, but only one condition. She's like, what's that? You give me a date with your brother. And so Auntie was like, yep, okay, you got it. So they got in for free that day, and then that's pretty much the rest of the story about how me and all my siblings got here, you know. So thank you, Auntie, for hooking it up. I found that story very touching, and it really just shows how close they were, everybody, you know. But I could go on and on about our father, but I really just want to let you know who he really was. He was a good person. He loved his family. He was a very clean and tidy person as well. Very organized. He was a smart man. He could figure just about anything out. Auntie was telling me a story of how he rewired his whole trailer, all the outlets and everything. He had no training for any of that stuff, but he figured it out. There's any situation that he may have come across, he always found a solution. And I got a funny story about that with my sister. So my dad, working out, being fit, he always used to drink these shakes. And so anyways, he has a blender in his hand. He's got all the stuff in there for the shake, and he can't find the base. He's looking all over the place, Next thing you know, he goes in there and finds the power drill, and he sticks it in the bottom. He's got the drill and the shake, and he's doing all this, mixing it up. And then my daughter watches it, she's like, oh, what are you doing, Grandpa? And he's like, oh, I'm just mixing my shake. But that was the kind of man my dad was. You know, nothing stopped him. You know, when he really wanted to do something or needed to do something, he did it. And so my dad, he was a jack of all trades, you know. He can do any industry, work on anything, and he really loved to help out people. Whenever he had a chance, he was always willing to do that. No. And one of the main things that everybody will know about my father is he loved to laugh. He had a unique laugh too. And this laugh was infectious. When he started laughing, you'd start laughing at him, and it would just keep going. And you know, it was a good laugh when he would lose his breath, and he would just be laughing, and all of a sudden it'd go quiet, and you see him smiling, just all teeth, and then take a deep breath because he was laughing so much. And then when he got to laughing, he also did this thing where he would pull up his pants a certain way. He would stand there trying to laugh and pull up his pants at the same time. And it was hilarious, but he did it a lot. And it was definitely something that we all remember of him for sure. He did love his children and his grandchildren. He loved his grandchildren a lot. Being a grandfather was one of the most special moments for him. And he would always, he talked about my grandkids. So we'll cherish those moments we share together forever. Now, towards the end, my father, he wasn't quite the way we remember him. He was starting to get sick, and he wasn't himself. and he was battling himself, and his health started to fade, and he ended up having a heart attack. And that's what put him in the hospital. And when he had his heart attack, unfortunately, his heart couldn't take the stent that they were trying to put in to save his life. And so he went into cardiac arrest, and he was without oxygen, and he had been pronounced dead for 28 minutes. 28 minutes is a long time to go without oxygen to the brain. And going through the process, and at the hospital, he was not himself. And my auntie Cindy had said when she had seen him that night, it didn't seem like he was there with us anymore. So, but if that heart attack hadn't come, we'd still be here today. But you know, things happen for a reason. God knew it was time, and He let us know it was time. And I just really want to thank everyone that was there for him at the end. Auntie Cindy, and everything you did, you were like a second mom to him. And I knew that. And even the little things like Lauren, you know, getting him his skull, or you know, just little things, checking on him, giving him some wood or whatever he needed. Post-graphically was always there for him. You know, everybody pitched in and take him to his appointments and make sure he was getting what he needed. And my sister sending him money every month, you know. My father wasn't perfect, but we loved him. He'll be greatly missed. And in the short time on this planet, he impacted a lot of us. I am my father. I see it all the time in everything I do. I was born one day after my dad. My birthday's on the 12th. And my daughter, she's only 5 days past that. Hers is on the 16th. But, so he may be gone, but he won't be forgotten. And in this time of mourning, let's all remember him fondly. And I'll end in a way he would have wanted it, with a laugh. And I got this story thanks to Grandma Jen and Uncle Ron. Thank you for this one. Here we go. The night before his passing, Grandma Jen and Uncle Ron went to go visit him in the hospital. They go to his room and they started to grieve over my father. Grandma on one side, Uncle on the other. She's holding his hand with tears in her eyes. She's saying her goodbyes and starts to rub his head and kiss him on the forehead. Now she starts examining him because she got closer. And she says, "Hey Ron, I don't remember his hair like that." Next, Uncle Ron stands looking at him and says, "His eyes must be changing." and he goes, "I don't remember them looking that slanted." So Grandma starts looking for the chart, and sure enough, they're in the wrong room. Crying over some Asian man named Dong. Oh man, we got out of there and found our dad. Oh, the next day, and this is what I really love. The next day, we all shared that story together in my father's room. And we packed the whole room out, and we had just taken my father off the machines so he could be comfortable. And so everybody's in the room, and we had the door closed, and we start telling the story, and it just laughter erupted after laughter inside the room. And that filled that room with a lot of love, a lot of laughter. And at that moment, we all were at peace. My father wasn't there, but he was at the same time. And we all were just enjoying that moment being together. And as I sit by his bedside, holding my father's hand, I thank my father for one last laugh and everything he has done for me. We love you, Dad, forever and always.